Well, good afternoon, everybody. So today we're going to be doing another deep dive into another component of the Anker SOLIX E10 ecosystem. And so today we're going to be taking a look at their smart generator. So let's get started. So several months ago, I did do kind of like a spec overview of the different components of the Anker E10 system. And this smart generator 5500 was included in that. So I will link to that video wherever it gets put on screen. So that way you can refer back to that in case I don't hit everything related to this generator. But quick overview, this is the Anker SOLIX Smart Generator 5500. I honestly don't know why they call it the 5500 when I don't see any spec that actually has 5500 related to this generator, but whatever. This is a tri-fuel generator, which allows you to utilize gasoline, natural gas, or propane. So this generator can output 3,600 watts AC. There are multiple AC output connections that we'll take a look at here in just a second. But the big selling point with this generator is that it can actually output DC power directly into the battery bank of the Anker SOLIX E10 system at 400 volts. And so while it can output 3,600 watts AC, when you're actually charging in DC mode, you can actually output up to 4,500 watts of DC power. So looking at all of the accessories that come with this generator, we do have the DC to DC charging cable, which goes from the DC port on the generator to the DC port on the Anker SOLIX E10 power module. It's approximately 10 feet long. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but it does say 14 gauge, 3 conductors, 24 gauge, there's 10 conductors. It does come with a funnel and a fill tube for filling the 10W40 oil. There is a screwdriver, which is a 2-point screwdriver. You've got Phillips on one end and a flathead on the other. Spark plug removal tool and breaker bar for removing that spark plug when you need to change it out. This is a natural gas adapter, so that you can hook onto a natural gas connection from your home, and then it goes to the quick disconnect for the generator. And then the tools do come with this nice little bag that you can keep everything contained. We do have a quick start guide, which really is very similar to the quick start guide we saw for the Anker SOLIX power module and the smart inlet box. Does go through setting everything up initially, as well as running the generator. They do have a warranty and safety guide, and then it does come with a propane hose, regulator on one end, quick disconnect for the generator on the other end, and this is approximately 4 feet long. So this is outdoor rated. It actually is a heavy-duty plastic. All around the outside. On the front, you have access to your pull cord. Then there is an LED status, I believe it's a status bar on top. We'll take a look at it when we fire it up outside here in a second. Because this is a plastic outside shell, it does make it lighter, but it also has the ability for scratches to show up. As you can probably tell. So on the right-hand side of the generator, you do have your fuel selection knob, which allows you to switch between propane, regular gasoline, and natural gas. And not only does this knob control the fuel selection, but when you turn it, it actually does also supply power to the display on top of the generator. Both sides of the generator do have lifting handles built into the case. And then on this right-hand side, which it took me a while to even figure this one out because it is so well built into the case, but there is a handle on the side too. And it just makes it a whole lot easier to move around with that handle. When I first got this thing, I thought that I was supposed to move it around just by putting my hand under here. And it worked. I mean, there's wheels on the other side, but once I found that there was the handle, I was like, oh my goodness, how did I not notice that? Underneath this cover on the right-hand side, actually, there's two doors. You have your DC connection port for DC charging directly to the Anker SOLIX E10 battery. You have a 20 amp AC output plug, and then right up above is a circuit breaker reset. And then you have a 30 amp output plug, and then a 30 amp circuit breaker reset right there. Now this right here is actually a recharging port for the 12 volt battery on the inside. Now one thing that I wish that they would have sent was just a little charging block to be able to recharge the onboard 12 volt battery. There is a grounding screw connection so that you can ground the generator. And then you can see right here, there's spec list for all of the different detailed specifications of this generator. And so the reason that they have this little door on the bottom is actually so that you can plug in your DC connection, lock that in, but then the cord can actually be tucked in right underneath, and then you can close the doors and just have this little tail coming out the bottom. Kind of neat little touch. Looking at the back of the generator, they do have an emission control sticker, and then you have your port for your natural gas or your propane, which is going to be one of those quick disconnect connections. And on the left-hand side of the generator, as I mentioned before, we do have a hand grip for easy lifting. Bunch of different warning stickers, and then our exhaust. And we also do have the wheels that you can see on the bottom. Now, these wheels do free spin. There are rubber feet on the bottom to stabilize the generator, to kind of keep it from walking away when it's running. And since we are looking at this side, I did have somebody ask me, how can I secure this generator so that nobody can just come up and steal it? And I didn't see anything in the manual, so I reached out to Anker SOLIX. And so on this side of the generator, so you've got your side with the exhaust and the wheels, if you come down to the bottom, right between the wheels, there is a loop spot right here where you can run a cable, a small chain, and actually secure your generator so that it can't easily walk away. And now it does look like it's just a part of the molded plastic, but it's better than nothing. They did say that they were going to be looking at other options for securing this generator as well. But for the time being, right there. So looking at the top of the generator, we do have our gasoline fill point. And this can hold 10 liters or 2.64 gallons of gasoline. And then we've got our display with our controls across the top. I did mention earlier that the switch on the side, which is your fuel selector, does control this display. So I'm going to switch to propane. Now, nothing is connected right now, but at least it powers up the display. So you can see as it powers up, Anker SOLIX Live in Power. So you can see on screen 40% is the last estimated fuel value that I had the last time I ran propane in this. On the bottom left-hand side, we can see a battery indicator for the 12 volt battery. I currently have the switch set to propane as the fuel source. It is in DC mode, so outputting AC power or DC power. And then a run mode, it's currently in eco. And then the top right-hand corner, you can see the little Wi-Fi symbol. It is connected to Wi-Fi. But we will have to reset that here in a second because I ended up having to switch from the beta version of the app to the live version of the app. So I will have to reconnect this, and I will bring you along when we do that. So we've got our AC/DC button. You can see I just switched to AC power mode. You can only be one or the other. It will not allow you to switch to DC mode unless you actually have the DC connection already made to the Anker SOLIX E10 battery. Since I already had it set the last time I ran it, that's why it's allowing it right now. We have our engine start stop button right in the middle, an IoT button, which you can use to reset or connect your generator to the Anker SOLIX app. There's a mode switch, which allows you to switch what you can see on screen. So you can see that we've ran 2 hours and 5 minutes on this generator. And it's kind of neat that it actually shows you an output. So 7 kilowatts of output, which is pretty slick. And then the last reset, currently in manual exercise mode, it'll even ballpark estimate how long you've had fuel in here and tell you how old it is. Your oil change, it does switch back somewhat quickly. You've got 2 hours on your oil and 2 hours on your air filter. And then the last error codes that we had on here, which I don't know why it says insufficient oil, because there was plenty in it. And there's no date on that, which leads me to believe that it was before I ran things. And then, yeah, you can see abnormal engine speed. And that was due to the fact that it was running out of propane. And then back to the main screen, mode button. Here we can see turbo or eco. And I just leave it on eco mode. And then this has a lot of built-in safety features, temperature alarms. You saw that it checks the fuel expiration for you, oil temperature, all that kind of stuff. There's also a carbon monoxide alarm, which is right over here on the right-hand side. So let's take a look at setting up the app connection to this generator. So we're going to open up the Anker SOLIX app, let it do its loading. We're going to come to this devices section. And you can see I have my one Anker SOLIX E10 that is active. Pay no attention to the other one. We'll hit that plus sign in the top right-hand corner. We're going to add a device. And you can see right here, it did detect, because I'm right next to it, the smart generator. We will tap that. And we will let it do its connection. Now that wants us to press the IoT button on the side. There we go. So it's just a single press. Then we'll connect our Wi-Fi. Check for firmware update. And there is an update. So we will hit update. More than likely, the first time you get this, there will be one. So we can see on screen, it does show that the firmware is updating. We're at 25%. We can see it both on the app and the screen. It's kind of new for me thinking that a generator has a firmware update because I'm used to the generic open frame generators that are not inverter style, none of that stuff. So yeah, kind of different for me. Now it'll go through a restart. And we can see on screen, liquid propane not set, so the value of the tank has not been set. Whether or not that's due to the fact that the firmware update happened or because I connected it to a new version of the app, I'm not sure. But either way, you have to set however full you think your tank is, even the size of your tank in the app. And update successful. I'll leave the name as the smart generator. And then it walks through. Make sure that you add oil, because when you first get this, there's going to be two things that you have to do to it. One is going to be to add engine oil, because there's none in this when it's being shipped. It doesn't come with oil, so you need to make sure that you pick up, I believe it's 10W40. I'll put the proper, I think it's SAE 10W40 at a minimum. And then they want you to connect the 12-volt battery, because it's inside the generator, but it's just not connected. So let's actually pop the side. I'll show you where you're going to add your oil, as well as where you're going to connect that battery up. Let's close that out. And we can see on screen here, now we have the smart generator showing up in our device list. So when I got asked the question about securing the generator so that nobody can walk away with it, I thought, well, I'm just going to pop open the sides and see if I can find anything that actually allows you to secure it down. And I completely forgot about the fact that there's screws hidden underneath the handles. We've got one here, 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 and here, depending on which side that you want to open up. When you first get the generator and you want to deal with the oil and the battery, you're going to want to open up the back side. So you're going to be pulling off these two screws right here. But as I said, I forgot that there was actually screws underneath the handle, so I was prying on this thing and reefing on it, trying to get it to come off. Don't do that. Just remember, there's screws for the plastic to come off. So once you unscrew the screws, you can readjust the entire generator. And then you'll just kind of pull off from the side where the gas connection is, because there are some hooks on this side that actually hook into the frame. So you want to open from this side, and you're just going to pop it and walk it back, and then slide it off. And then we can get a closer look at just some of the internals of the generator. All the electronics are going to be on the side where your AC and DC connections are. So down here is where your oil fill is going to end up being. And you're going to end up putting about 22 ounces of SAE SJ10W40. And then on your left-hand side, here's your 12-volt battery. And it's going to be disconnected. So you will pull off the covers and just connect up the 12-volt battery. Since we've gotten this far, I'm going to pop the cover on the other side just so you can see what's going on the other side as well. So again, we had two screws underneath the handle. On the front, we also have two screws for the pull. And then this cover does hook on this side. So we will open up from the handle side. We can turn the pull cord plate, slide it through, and then take off our front cover. And then just get another peek at the insides of the generator. Not much to see. It's all encased together. Definitely nice and clean because it's new. So both of these are designed to be outdoors, and depending on placement, you might only need to use the, 1 meter, 10 foot cable to go from the E10 to the generator. But maybe you've got a situation where you've mounted this inside and you still want to be able to utilize the generator, but a 10-foot cable is not going to really buy you anything. So Anker SOLIX did come up with a 30-foot cable, or 10 meters, for really a lot of different use cases. So maybe you've got your Anker SOLIX just inside the garage, and you want to utilize the generator, but you're not supposed to have the generator in the garage running, but this is mounted in the garage, and this short cable is not going to work. Well, that's where this 30-foot cable comes into play. You can put this safely outside the garage or outside the home, depending on where you've got it installed. This could run through a door. You could have it run through a window while safely having the generator running outside. And I've even talked to them about, it would be really nice if there was some kind of a go-between box that you could mount on the outside of the house that would run a cable directly into this. So they're looking at a couple different options just for additional flexibility, because this could get installed anywhere. I mean, I've got mine in the basement. So right now, if I want to utilize the generator, I got to haul it outside. They didn't have the longer cable available when they first released the system. Now they've come out with at least this longer cable, and I'm hoping that even soon we'll see something kind of junction box that can be installed to go easily from outside to inside. But let's look at getting this thing connected. So first thing that we're going to end up doing is we'll pop the dust cover on the DC connection on the power module, and we will connect one side of our cable to the power module. And we will then open up our door on our generator. Our dust cover has already come off. So we will plug in our connection over here. And again, I mentioned this little secondary door gives you the ability to really tuck that in and close it all up. Nice. I'll come over here and swipe my son's forging propane tank. Just don't tell him. And then pop the door on our quick connection. Push till it clicks in. There we go. Open our valve. Then you would want to check for leaks on all your connections. We will press and hold the button to turn on the E10 power module. It'll go through its startup sequence. You probably can't see the light on the front there. We will also come over here and switch to propane. And our glare on the screen, all you see is me. I did have somebody ask me what the sound is from this generator when it's running. Ambient noise, 35, 36 decibels. So once this gets fired up here in a second, we'll do another sound check. I do want to start this all up from the app though, because it just kind of shows additional flexibility and some controls that you can have for this smart generator, which is kind of neat. So we're going to go to the devices page, tap our smart generator. We can see on the right hand side it says not set, and that's LPG. We're going to choose pounds, our full weight. Pretty sure this is like a 20-pound tank maybe, and I don't know how much Ian has used forging. I don't know, let's just say 5 pounds are left. So now it shows that there's 25%, and it'll try and track that for you. There are exercise modes where it can, if this is stored outside, you can tell it to manually turn on and turn off based on every week, once a month. You can even customize that schedule. You can set your interval, your times, just like a normal standby generator outside. You can switch your modes, eco mode and turbo mode. You can see your AC and your DC output, and then it'll give you some statistics. Range extender system. Oh, that's kind of neat. They didn't have that initially. If we click the settings icon in the top right-hand corner, we can see our tank level, maintenance. So we can have prompts for engine oil, changing the air filter, spark plugs, spark arrestor, fuel filter, and then there's some additional options for combustion chamber, cleaning, valve clearance, gas pipe. This is kind of neat. So it'll tell you how often maintenance needs to be done on all these different options. And then you can reset it so it tells you 20 hours. In 20 hours, replace the engine oil. In 50 hours, replace the air filter. That's pretty slick. Periodic power data and historical data as well. I don't know about you, but I like to be reminded when maintenance has to get done. Gas expiration, screen brightness. Okay, so you can adjust the brightness on the screen. How often it times out. Light bar brightness. Okay. Let's just set this to high, so maybe we'll actually be able to see this. So save that. Because I honestly don't remember if that's a status indicator or what. So we're going to find out together. Device name, Wi-Fi, measurement units. So we can have percent, gallon, or liters for gas, percent, kilograms, pounds, and gallons for propane. Serial number, help and feedback, firmware update, which we did earlier, reset to defaults, and delete the device. All right. So now, you know, I forgot to even mention this, but why is the DC aspect of this generator so much better than charging from AC? And going DC to DC, it's doing a 400 volt charge directly into the batteries on this E10 system. So it's not having to go through any conversion losses. It's not having to go from DC to AC and then AC back to DC. So charging direct with DC is going to be significantly more efficient, which then means that the generator doesn't have to work as hard. And then another bonus about this generator is it's putting power directly into the battery bank. It's not having to worry about managing the loads on this E10 system. So all it's doing is charging the battery. So it's not going to fluctuate up and down like a regular generator would that's trying to handle all the loads that your system is trying to power, which in turn is, again, more efficient and allows you to utilize fuel better than you would on a regular generator. So, without further ado, or what does Andy say, without further to do, let's switch this to DC. We're going to confirm that. We can see we have a connection between our generator and the E10 system, and I'm going to do this in the app. We are going to slide to start. Oh, can you see it on the bottom? That's kind of neat. Right there. It's kind of like that Knight Rider thing, except it's blue. All right, that pitch change means that it's now sending power into the Anker SOLIX system. We are in eco mode, charging at 4,000 watts into the E10 system. I can tap the E10 system and go in specifically to see we're currently at 51% state of charge on the battery. And we're charging with 4 kilowatts. I don't know, I like seeing the blue. I want to change the color. So on the Anker SOLIX power module, we're seeing what looks to be like a climbing indicator, signifying that it's charging. And then over here on the generator, it looks like the light is spreading out from the center, signifying that it's outputting power. So if I stand approximately 4 feet away from the generator, not facing the exhaust, we're at about 68 dB. Obviously it'll be louder if I'm on the exhaust side. If I switch to quiet mode, the generator ramps down. Now we're at about 64 dB. Again, I don't know if you can see that or not. And then if I switch to turbo, about 68 or 69 dB. And then we can look here on the app, we can see the little battery indicator. That might be the 12-volt battery. So maybe it's charging the 12-volt battery when it runs. I honestly don't know. I would assume that it would. So we'll have to see if that little lightning bolt indicator goes off when we turn the actual generator off. It says powering, and then 5 kilowatts from the generator, which that I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's to make the generator run. So it's using 5 kilowatts total, and it's outputting 450 watts. That would kind of make sense. And then we can see our total power generated, usage time, power duration. And this is programmable based on the E10 system. And you can see right here, it's detected that a generator DC port is connected to a power storage device. You can set an automatic start and stop for the generator. Do you want to set it right now? Yes. So we'll go to the settings. So we can tell it to automatically or manually start. We can tick this option. Generator must be placed outdoors. It will emit carbon monoxide. And I believe they want like 5-foot clearance around this whole thing. So we'll confirm that. Actually, I'm going to come back out here. So we're at 56% right now. So I'm going to go into settings, smart generator, and I'm going to just set this to 57%, save. And then you can set windows for different run times. Eco mode, turbo, and quiet. And then when do you want that to be able to run at that different setting? So quiet mode, 8 to 6 a.m. If it has to run in quiet mode. And then turbo mode during the daytime when nobody really cares if it's running. So I'm going to leave those mode settings for now. Again, 57%. It's supposed to turn off. It must have already been on 57%. So let me turn it off. So let me see if I can come over here. Smart generator. Stop at 61. Oh, it needs a 10% difference. So obviously I'm not going to run this. I'm not going to run this the entire time. You can see the clock. It's getting later. But I'm just going to save this. And it should start on its own because the battery is 60%. And we told it to start at 62. Oh. There's my problem. Oh my goodness. I didn't have the automatic turned on. Yes, confirm, save. I hear a click. And there we go. Started up on its own based on that state of charge option. And then when the device is in DC mode, the smart generator can respond to the automatic start and stop feature from the Anker SOLIX E10. And then you can see total power generation on here. We've got a nice little spike up here because we put power in from the generator. Let's see here. I can even switch to smart generator as an option now instead of just PV. And we can see that I have pushed some power in from the generator. And so coming back to this screen, we do see that lightning bolt is still here next to the battery symbol while this is not running. So I'm not really quite sure if that means that running the generator does recharge that 12-volt battery. Since there's that port on the side, it's kind of hard to say. It would be nice if it did, and it would also be nice if it would have come with that 12-volt charging cable. So again, just going through a lot of these different parts, pieces of the Anker SOLIX system and trying to do a little bit more of a deeper dive in how do they work? Have there been things that I have learned about them since I have had them? And I knew there were a handful of questions on the smart generator. And so I'm sorry that I actually didn't get to this sooner, because this is one of the really big, interesting selling points of the E10 ecosystem, I guess, because this does charge this straight from DC. Oh, speaking of charging, I had a lot of questions on whether or not this smart generator would work with the Anker SOLIX F3800 series. You can charge from AC using one of the two AC ports on this, but unfortunately, from my understanding, at this time, because the DC port on this is 400 volts, and the F3800 series is not a 400 volt system, you can't do direct DC charging. Whether or not Anker SOLIX ends up making some kind of a converter to do a DC charging directly into the F3800 series, I don't know. I know a lot of people have asked about it. I have passed on all those questions, but only time will tell right now. There's still more testing to be done. There's still more that I want to share, because there's not a whole lot of information out there about this stuff. So if I can share it and be of some help to you, I'm glad I can do it. I will leave links to all this stuff down in the description below. So again, you can do your own research yourself. If you do have more questions on any of this stuff, leave them down in the comments below. And with that, I'm gonna let y'all go. Y'all stay safe. It's getting into springtime now. It's warming up. So I think I have to start saying, stay cool. Even though I'm in a jacket right now. Oh, but it's that time of year. So y'all stay safe, stay cool, and we'll catch up with you later. The Anker SOLIX Smart Generator. So let's get... Today we get to take a look at a deep dive into one of the... Oh, good afternoon, everybody. I'm sure my wife is upstairs laughing at me now. Oh, can't ever get these things right, can we? Action. Ready? Take 57.